I'm Frances, a pediatric nurse in Macon, Georgia, where the humid air clings to you like a second skin and the community feels like family, for better or worse. My life has been about healing kids, stretching pennies, and holding on to a dream of motherhood that's kept me going through years of heartbreak. 9 years ago, I married Caleb Turner, the local high school football coach with a smile that could light up a Friday night game. We were supposed to build a life together, kids, a cozy house, the whole Southern dream. But one morning, as I stood in our kitchen, chopping vegetables for supper, my phone rang and shattered that dream like a glass hitting the floor. Frances, I've given our IVF savings to Harper. Caleb's voice came through, trying to sound firm but wobbling at the edges. She needs this Caribbean cruise to get over her breakup. It's important. My hand froze on the knife, the blade hovering over a half-cut onion. Our IVF savings, $40,000 we'd scraped together over 4 years, from my extra shifts at the hospital to Caleb's summer coaching bonuses, gone. Transferred to his sister Harper for a luxury cruise with white sand beaches and all-you-can-drink cocktails. My dream of holding a baby, of finally becoming a mom, felt like it was slipping through my fingers. Perfect, I said, my voice steady as a heartbeat monitor, though my chest was caving in. Thanks for letting me know, Caleb. There was a long pause, like he'd been bracing for a storm that didn't come. He'd expected tears, maybe shouting, the kind of outburst he'd always brushed off as me being too emotional about wanting a baby. Instead, I gave him calm, cold acceptance, and it threw him. Look, Frances, he started, his tone sliding into that patronizing drawl he'd mastered over the years. Harper's been through hell with her ex. She deserves this. We can save up again. You're only 35, there's time. I glanced at the stack of medical papers on the counter, delivered just 3 weeks ago from Dr. Maya Patel, my fertility specialist. Those papers told a different story, one Caleb didn't know because I'd been waiting for the right moment to tell him. A moment that never came, and now I knew why I'd kept it to myself. You're right, I lied, the words slipping out easier than I expected. Harper deserves it. I hope she has a blast. Another pause. This one heavier, like Caleb was trying to figure out if I was playing some kind of trick. Really? He asked, suspicion creeping in.
Really? I said.
I've got to go. I'm late for my shift at the hospital. I hung up before he could say more, before the tremor in my hands could betray me. As a pediatric nurse, I'd learned to stay steady when a child's life was on a line. Right now, that training was the only thing holding me together. 3 weeks ago, Dr. Patel had called me into her office, her face gentle but serious. My latest test showed my fertility was declining fast, a condition that meant we had maybe 3 months to try IVF before my chances dropped to near zero. I'd sat there, staring at the charts, feeling like the clock was ticking louder than ever. I hadn't told Caleb yet, partly because I was still processing it, partly because I knew his sister Harper had a way of derailing our plans. And now, here we were, with our savings gone to fund her latest escape. My phone buzzed with a text from Harper. Hey sis. Caleb told me about the cruise money. Y'all are the best. Can't wait to post pics from Aruba.
Soxo.
I stared at the words, my mind flashing back to all the times Harper had wedged herself into our lives. The times she needed Caleb's help with her boutique's rent, delaying our first IVF attempt. The way she'd convinced him to skip our 5th anniversary dinner because she was too stressed to be alone. Harper, with her big personality and bigger demands, always seemed to come first. But as the anger burned in my chest, a strange calm settled over me. I'd seen this coming. 8 months ago, after Harper's breakup, I'd noticed her eyeing our savings with that calculating glint she got when she wanted something. So I'd started preparing, quietly, carefully. Every extra shift, every bonus I earned, went into a separate account at a credit union across town, one Caleb didn't know about. I'd even sold a few old family heirlooms, pieces he'd never cared about, to pad it. The joint account he'd emptied? I'd let it sit there, just enough to keep him from suspecting. And I'd documented every penny I'd put into our shared savings, every sacrifice, every late-night shift. I opened my laptop, logged into the secret account, and checked the balance, enough to cover the IVF, with a little left over. My phone buzzed again, This time from Dr. Patel. Appointment confirmed for next week. All set for financing options. Ready when you are. I took a deep breath, the weight of the moment settling in. 9 years of marriage had taught me exactly who Caleb was, a man who'd always choose his sister's whims over our future. But it had also taught me who I was. And I wasn't waiting for him anymore. As I walked through the halls of Macon General Hospital, the familiar beeps of monitors and chatter of nurses grounded me. But my mind was spinning, replaying the phone call with Caleb, Harper's smug text, and the medical papers that felt like a ticking bomb. I'd spent years swallowing my frustration, smiling through Harper's endless emergencies that somehow always trumped our plans. The time Caleb canceled our weekend getaway because Harper needed help moving after her breakup. The way he'd brushed off my concerns about her influence, saying, "She's family, Francis. You're being too hard on her." But this was different. This wasn't just another inconvenience. This was our future, my chance at motherhood, stolen. During a quiet moment on my shift, I slipped into the break room, where Tessa Monroe, my best friend at the hospital, was sipping coffee. Her sharp eyes caught mine immediately. "You look like you just got hit by a truck," she said, setting her mug down. I slid into the chair across from her and let it spill. The call from Caleb, the cruise, the emptied savings. Tessa's face darkened, her southern drawl tightening with anger. "He did what? And Harper's out there planning her Instagram poses with your baby money." I nodded, pulling out my phone to show her Harper's latest text. "Just booked a spa day on the cruise. You're a saint for this, Francis." Tessa scoffed, her hands on her hips. "She's got some nerve. So, what's the plan?" "I know you, Francis. You're not just sitting there crying over this." I managed a small smile. The first real one all day. Tessa knew me too well. "I've been ready for this," I said quietly. I told her about the separate account, the 8 months of squirreling away every extra dollar, the careful records I'd kept of every contribution to our joint savings. I even showed her the email from Eli, the attorney who'd offered to take my case after I'd helped a son through a scary asthma attack last year. "Eli says we've got a strong case for financial misconduct," I said, especially with Harper posting every detail of her spending spree online. Tessa's eyes widened as she scrolled through Harper's social media. Pictures of her posing with tropical drinks, captions gushing about her dream getaway. "She's practically writing the case for you," Tessa said, shaking her head. "What about Caleb? Does he know you're planning to fight this?" I shook my head. "He thinks I'm fine with it. He's too busy managing Harper's life to notice I've been one step ahead." I'd learned to keep my cards close after years of watching Harper's shadow loom over our marriage. Every time she'd swooped in with a crisis, Caleb had jumped to help, leaving me to pick up the pieces. I wasn't doing that anymore. During my lunch break, I called Dr. Patel to finalize our plan. She was a lifeline in all this, calm, professional, with a network of clinics that could help me afford the IVF despite Caleb's betrayal. "Are you sure you're ready to do this on your own?" she asked, her voice soft but probing. I thought about the years I'd spent waiting for Caleb to put us first, the nights I'd lain awake wondering if I was enough. "I'm sure," I said. "I've waited long enough." When I got home that evening, Caleb was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through his phone, probably looking at Harper's latest posts. He glanced up, his face bright with that clueless charm. "Harper's so excited about this cruise," he said, like it was just another Tuesday. "She's got the whole trip planned. Aruba, Barbados, the works." "Sounds amazing," I replied, moving to the kitchen to start dinner, my voice as smooth as sweet tea. He trailed after me, thrown off by my lack of fight. "I know you're probably upset deep down," he said, "but Harper really needed this after her breakup." "Caleb," I cut in, turning to face him. I said, "It's fine. What more do you need?" He blinked, caught off guard by this version of me. Not pleading, not explaining, just done. He mumbled something about wanting me to understand, but I was already halfway to the stove, my mind on the appointment with Eli tomorrow. "I've got an early shift," I said, cutting him off. "I'm heading to bed." That night, as I lay in the dark, listening to Caleb's snores from the living room, I thought about the future I was building. The IVF appointment next month, the legal papers Eli was preparing, the life I'd fought for inch by inch. My phone lit up with another text from Harper. Just got the cutest bikini for the cruise. You're the best sister-in-law ever. I smiled, not because I agreed, but because every post, every text was another nail in the coffin of the life I was leaving behind. The next morning, I drove to Eli's office in downtown Macon, the old brick building tucked between a diner and a hardware store, the kind of place where everyone knows your name. Eli greeted me with a warm handshake, his office cozy with photos of his kids and a cross on the wall. I spread out my documents, bank statements, pay stubs, even screenshots of Harper's gloating posts. Eli's eyes lit up as he scanned them. "Francis, this is airtight," he said, tapping the record of my contributions to our joint account. "Most folks don't think to keep track like this." 9 years of Harper's emergencies taught me to cover my bases, I replied, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. Eli leaned back, his face serious but kind. "That transfer to Harper's account? That's what we call a slam dunk. It shows a clear pattern of Caleb putting her wants above your shared goals." I showed him Harper's latest Instagram, designer sunglasses, cruise tickets, a caption about living her best life. Eli chuckled, saving the screenshots. "She's doing half our work for us." I shook my head when he asked if I'd told Caleb about my condition. "I needed to lock things down first," I said. "Smart move," Eli nodded. "Given the urgency of your treatment and Caleb's stunt, we can push for an emergency hearing." My phone buzzed with a text from Caleb. "Harper's over the moon about the cruise."
Knew you'd come around, babe.
I showed it to Eli, who added it to the file. "He's handing us the case," he said, almost laughing. "We mapped out the plan. File the divorce papers, freeze the remaining assets, and use Harper's posts to prove misuse of our savings. You ready for this?" Eli asked, gathering the papers. "Once we file, there's no turning back." I thought about the years of putting my dreams on hold, of watching Caleb choose Harper's drama over our life together. "I'm ready," I said, my voice firm. That afternoon, while Caleb was at football practice, I headed to the bank. Following Eli's advice, I closed our joint credit cards and withdrew my share of what little was left in our savings, a measly $2,500 Harper hadn't gotten to yet. When I got home, a package was waiting on the porch, a framed photo of Harper in a sun hat, with a note, "For your mantle. Thanks for making my dream trip happen. Love ya." Once, that might have stung. Now, it just fueled me. Caleb came home that evening, whistling some country tune, but stopped short when he saw me setting the table for one. "Where's my plate?" he asked, brow furrowed. "Eat at Harper's tonight," I said, calm as a summer evening. "She'll want to show you her new cruise wardrobe." He blinked, confused. "You mad about this? I thought you were okay." "I'm not mad, Caleb," I said, placing a manila envelope on the table. "I'm done." His face shifted from confusion to shock as he opened it. "Divorce papers." "This is crazy," he stammered. "All this over Harper's trip?" "No," I said, my voice quiet but steady. "This is about 9 years of you choosing Harper over us. The cruise was just the last straw." I handed him the medical papers I'd kept secret. "I have 3 months to try IVF, Caleb. But I'm not waiting on you anymore. I'm doing it with my own money. Money you and Harper can't touch." His face paled as he read the doctor's report. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, voice breaking. "Would it have changed anything?" I countered. "Would you have said no to Harper?" His silence was louder than any answer. "I've got an IVF appointment next month," I said. "You should find somewhere else to stay. Harper's got plenty of space, I'm sure." 2 months later, I sat in Dr. Patel's office, staring at the ultrasound screen, my heart pounding louder than a Georgia thunderstorm. A tiny flicker pulsed on the monitor. My baby. Against all odds, the first round of IVF had worked. "Congratulations, Francis," Dr. Patel said, her smile warm as a summer peach. "Your numbers are strong." All that planning paid off. I clutched the ultrasound photo, tears blurring my vision, feeling the weight of years of hope finally lifting. My phone buzzed with a message from Eli. "Final divorce hearing next week." Harper's cruise posts are gold in court. Her Caribbean adventure had become a social media circus. Pictures of her lounging on yachts, sipping cocktails, every post tagged with hashtags like #blessed and #dreamtrip. Each one was another piece of evidence, meticulously saved for our case. Caleb had tried to spin it in mediation, claiming Harper's trip was a mental health necessity. The mediator, a sharp woman from Atlanta, wasn't buying it. Mental health, she'd said, raising an eyebrow at a photo of Harper in a designer dress on a beach. This looks like reckless spending of your marital assets. I pulled into my new apartment complex, a cozy spot near the hospital with azaleas blooming out front. Tessa was waiting with a basket of homemade biscuits and jam, her face lighting up when I handed her the ultrasound photo. "Francis," she squealed, hugging me so tight I could barely breathe. "I'm gonna be an auntie." Over sweet tea, she filled me in on the gossip. Harper was back from the Caribbean, her bank account as empty as her promises. She'd tried hitting Caleb up for more cash, but his accounts were frozen pending the divorce. "He finally told her no," Tessa said, grinning. First time for that. The day of the final hearing was crisp and clear, the kind of morning that feels like a fresh start. I wore a navy dress, the slight curve of my pregnancy just hidden beneath it. Caleb and Harper sat across the courtroom, looking worn, like the shine had come off their charmed lives. Eli presented our case with precision, laying out the bank records, my pay stubs, and Harper's endless posts. The judge, a stern woman with a thick Southern accent, zeroed in on Caleb. "Mr. Turner, you redirected funds meant for a critical medical procedure to your sister's vacation," she said. "Do you grasp how serious that is?" Caleb mumbled something about not knowing about my condition. "Because you never asked," I said softly, my voice cutting through the room. "You never asked about anything that wasn't Harper." The judge's ruling was swift. I got most of our assets, and Harper was ordered to repay her share of the funds, though we all knew that was a long shot. Caleb's face was a mix of regret and disbelief, but I felt only relief. As I left the courthouse, Caleb called out, "Francis, I'm sorry. I see now what I did was wrong. Maybe we could." I turned, my hand resting on my belly, the gesture stopping him cold. His eyes widened, realization hitting like a freight train. "Yes," I said, my voice steady. "I'm pregnant. And this baby will grow up knowing they were wanted, fought for, chosen first." I walked away, leaving him with Harper, who was already whining about the repayment order, her voice fading into the background. 6 months later, I sat in my new nursery, painting the walls a soft yellow, the crib ready for the little one kicking inside me. My phone buzzed with a text from Caleb. "I get it now, what I lost. I hope you and the baby have the life you deserve." I looked around the room, rocking chair in the corner, a mobile of tiny stars overhead, and smiled. We already had that life. Tessa came by with a casserole that evening, and we sat on my new porch, talking about baby names and the future. "You did it, Francis," she said, her eyes shining. "You built this." The road hadn't been easy. Years of heartbreak, of coming second to Harper's drama, of fighting for my dream. But every step had led me here, to a home filled with hope, to a baby who'd know they were enough. I rested my hand on my belly, feeling a kick, and whispered, "We're gonna be just fine, little one. Just fine." To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through betrayal, battles, and breakthroughs. If this story hit you in the heart, hit that subscribe button and join us, where every moment tells a tale of grit, grace, and new beginnings. Keep chasing your own dreams, and I'll see you on the other side of the fight.